Hey, minasan, konnichiwa, Zamurai Engineer. In this video, let us properly start with our main topics. So, engineering, utilities 2, about plumbing and mechanical system under the building system design. So, let us move with the first slide, which is the objective of this course. Engineering utilities 2 is about sanitary, plumbing, fire protection, mechanical, and acoustic control systems. Acoustic meaning sound. We want to control the noise inside the occupancy. So it also represents the interrelationship between a building and its subsystems. So mechanical, sanitary, plumbing, fire protection, acoustic, they are a subsystem, okay, of the building design. So let us have our main topics of this course. We have introduction to basic principles of sanitary plumbing, plumbing materials, building fixtures, about sanitary, and number 5, life safety. Number 6, acoustical control. And number 7, basic principles in building conveying system. So conveying system, this means we are going to have a background of what are the important things that we need to know as a civil engineer if we are in charge of a building construction wherein there are what? Elevators, or there are escalators. So those are the very common nowadays, or the example of conveying system. Okay, elevators and escalators, or walkalators, and so on. So we'll have that, but before that, we will start with number 1, introducing these topics. Okay. So under the introduction, we will introduce to you these subtopics about codes and permits. And number 2, PD 1096, which I already introduced in some other courses. NBCP IRR 2005, other building codes, RA 9514, the fire code, with the 2019 IRR, and then PD 856, the code on sanitation 1975. So these are under the introduction. We will just introduce. We will not delve into the deeper details. So let us proceed with codes and permits. Okay. What is the main objective and principle of having codes and permits? These are the documents that the government needs to assess, to evaluate, in order to do preliminary activities work, like what inspection to make, what. In our country, there are 4, again, to protect life, property, public health, and public welfare. Okay, so as simple as public welfare, okay, is an objective of National Building Code. So we say code, we are talking about the codes that are with respect to construction of a structure or a building. Mainly, this is a National Building Code of the Philippines and its referral code. You will find the hundreds of code books describing thousands of building code provisions around the world. On top of this, there are even more books that look and feel like code books, but are really only attempting to describe best practices. Okay, what do you mean by this? So there are several standards that if you take a look inside the contents, the presentation of the standards is something that looks like a code. A code is something that looks like a law, okay? So that is what do you mean by code? It looks like a law in presenting its provision. Okay, so for example, what can we expect if we have a document written on a certain paper which is a law? We can expect something like article, sections, okay, and under the sections, a paragraph, provision, and important definition, something like that. Okay, so meaning to say there is no explanation, okay, because it is a law. It is as brief as possible, meaning as compact as possible. It is written with minimum number of words, and only important words are there. There is no flowery words. Direct presentation of the idea, okay? Brief, direct to the point, and only the important things, and the important things are what? Categorized. So that is actually inside any law document, okay? So it specifies, for example, penalties if you don't abide by the law, okay? And the specification penalties are what? According to the degree of infraction, okay? So it also lists all the do's and don'ts, something like that. That is the general idea of a law. So it specifies what you can and what you cannot do. However, again, there's no explanation. And explanation, not only that, there is no word with respect to enforcement. There is no wording with respect to enforcement. It defines who will enforce it, but there is no wordings. There is no additional paragraph or description on how it could be done in real life. Okay, so that is a law. Now, because of that, there is another type of documents we call implementing rules and regulation, IRR. A law, in order to be implemented, must have an IRR, because in IRR there is now the explanation, some sort of explanation, not so deep, but clearer explanation with descriptions and additional wordings that are dedicated for enforcement, how to make it happen. That is the difference of IRR and the law. IRR must be written after a law were passed, or a law is passed, was passed. Okay, so meaning to say, a law will be written and read and debated upon, approved by Congress and Senate. Okay, and afterwards, the ultimate individual who will sign is the president. So after the president sign it, then it will what? It will be published in a general publication. General meaning national in magnitude. Right? The publication must be national in character. So and after publication, there is a mandatory counting of I think 15 days. 15 to 30 days. Okay? 15 to 30 days after the publication, the law will automatically be enforceable. By enforceable meaning, the assigned agency can now demand, okay, enforcement of that, okay, of that law. Okay? So, and if you can see, any code. A code looks like a law or looks like an IRR. Similar in format, similar in as a reader of the code or the law, you can feel the same if you are reading a law and if you are reading code. You cannot but distinguish the difference. Okay, but they are different because a code is sometimes part of a law and sometimes is not part of the law. So I will give you later on the specific example of that. In our study, we are going to follow National Building Code. Okay, so NBCP, and NBCP is what? Is a law which is executive in nature. It is under the, it became a law, but it is not the Republic Act. Okay, it is a presidential decree. Okay, it is decreed by the president. So that is what we mean by presidential decree. It is decreed. It is commanded, no, by the president. That is what we mean by decreed by president. So, okay, thank you, Claire.
Pag ikaw, pag-eskwela ka na naman sa test, damay ganito ka na din.
Yes, I get you, Claire. Okay, so that is what a code looks like. So that there are many people who may misinterpret code to be a law. So there are codes that is included in a law, but there are codes that are not. So we can avoid that. So because why? Because we have to follow those codes that are actually law in nature. Okay, so and we have what? There are code books, but are really only attempting to describe best practices. Those documents that describes best practices, they are what we call standard. So that is the difference between a law, code, and standard. Right? So you can apply a particular standard, but because it is a standard, it is also only a recommendation, right? Recommended, okay? Because those are best practices. So a code is a little bit more than that, okay? A little bit more than that. So, however, when we are okay, so we have codes, law, and standards. And what we have here, we will just take the code for residential type of occupancy. Because we cannot give you all those for institutional, industrial, commercial. So there are several types of occupancy. We cannot discuss this everything in one semester. So I will just present one or two type of occupancy, like what? Residential, single and two family dwelling residential. That is one. We can also sometimes discuss another occupancy like what school. Okay, but more than that we cannot do it because we have limited time. Okay, so by the way, now I had chosen to present the residential type of code. So, and internationally, the most popular one in this area is what we call the International Residential Code. So, and the latest is actually 2015. This is 2012, but I don't have a copy yet of 2015. So it is an extensive collection of model building codes published by International Code Council. A model building code is a recommended building code that is developed by national organization that specializes in writing building code. So what are the national organizations that specializes in writing building code? Like NFPA, like IEEE. So those are the organizations. Those are professional organizations that write building codes. Yeah. Like ICC. These are the building code producing or publishing organizations. So in our country, there is none. There is no organization that do it. So we are mainly what? Copying from or adapting and promulgating international code and accept it as our local code. So that's why sometimes, so particularly in civil engineering, I do not 100% follow because, for example, we are mainly focused on code that are written in United States. And take note, in our discipline, that is a main difference of United States and our countries, that temperature, the what? The climate, okay? The whole year round climate, okay? So average temperature, different. We have about 30 degrees Celsius. They have 20 degrees Celsius ambient. So they have what? Winter. They have snow. We don't. So very clear differences between those locations. That's why I do not follow the codes written by American organization 100%. I just follow those things that are thought to have what minimum effect on those issues. Okay? Particularly, our country is what in type 4 seismic zone area. Type 4, they are not. So really, there is a difference. That's why we cannot 100% follow ACI, AISC. So what we are doing is actually follow NBCP and NSCP. That is actually the code. They are the code of our country with respect to building and structural. Okay. They are not law. They are code. Okay. So code is also some sort of recommendation, but these are recommendation by what? By agreement, agreed upon by professional organizations. Like in your case, you are civil engineering, you will become a member of PICE. So PICE agreed to those things. Okay, so that is a difference between standard and code. So code is just like an standard, but in addition, a dominant professional organization agreed to adopt those standards. So it will become a code because of that. Okay. Therefore, if those are the agreed upon standard, there is some legality, some sort of legality into it. So therefore, a code has some degree of legal spirit. Okay? There is some degree of legal spirit into a code. Standard, none. Okay? Standard would be adopted by a simple localized area. For example, a company could adopt a standard. For example, ISO standard. That is only for that company. Okay? So, a standard is what? Therefore, they present themselves, but a company should adopt them in order for them to be imposed inside the company. But a neighboring company is not bound by that standard, because before we are bound by that standard, that company's the authority should adopt the same standard. Okay? They have to decide it on their own. So a code is different because a code is having a greater area of coverage. Right? In United States, the smallest area of coverage for code is one state. For example, California is one state. New York, one state. Right? Or one city or one state. So in United States. In our country, there is no such thing as local promulgation of code. There is no such thing. Meaning, our codes in the Philippines is adapted for the whole use of the country, for the whole country of the Philippines. Okay. So promulgation and adaptation of a standard